Before the Ranger Creed is recited by a formation of Rangers at any ceremony, you will always hear the narrator say this: "Will all Rangers, past and present, please join us as we recite the Ranger Creed?" Every Ranger will stand, and as they say those six stanzas, they are transformed back to a time when they had the pleasure and the burden of this brotherhood. That feeling is hard to describe. However, it's one that never leaves you. It's a connection that spans the globe and can be reignited when you hear the phrase, "Hey, Ranger, what battalion you from?" Amongst this formation, there are Rangers that stand out. They are legends of this elite organization, and when their names are spoken, people instantly have a story and for a moment relive it. Legend of the 75th podcast wants to capture that feeling and those stories. We want to ensure that these legends' triumphs and sacrifices never fade away. So sit back with our favorite adult beverage and listen to the stories from the legends of the 75th. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Legends of the 75th. We have the absolute pleasure of sitting down today with Sergeant Major Joshua Horsager. If you don't know Josh, I don't know why that came out so weird. He served from 1997 originally with 175, got out in June of 2001. I can't wait to kind of dive into that and how that probably turned into a whole thing. What an interesting time to get out. And then came back in February of 2005 and served in RHC and then, or I'm sorry, RRC, and then also 375 and RHQ, where he got a special assignment to go to the Australian Defensive Force. After that, he went to 275, where he served as a master sergeant, first sergeant. Did you serve as an ops sergeant major up there as well?
I did,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, that's right. I remember, I can't remember who was telling me, but yeah, okay. Served as an ops sergeant major up at 275 also. Did a total of 10 deployments, and then his final assignment was at 8th Brigade Cadet Command as a brigade sergeant major. He competed also in Best Ranger three different times, placing first and second two of the three times. So definitely a lot to talk about. Joshua, we've never actually been at the same place at the same time, but we know a lot of the same people, and guys that were mentors to you later became mentors to me, and I know you've served with some of those guys up at 275 that I spent a lot of time with. So we've definitely heard each other's names spoken
Yeah,
across the regiment quite a bit. Mine in a bad way, yours in a good way.
yeah. Not so much, but
Well,
yeah.
hey, man, it's awesome to sit down with you. I can't wait to kind of dive into your career. But, if we can, um, the first question I always kind of ask people, we get into, why you want to be a ranger. But when I was doing the standard introduction, was there anything that like kind of came to mind, any emotions or any kind of feelings? Sometimes people have some comments about that.
I mean, anytime you talk about the regiment and the guys and the brotherhood, it brings the emotions out. Like it's not a sadness now because I'm not there and I've been removed for a while, but it always kind of like makes your heart warm. And the elements that we have out here, like the brotherhood and the network, have been amazing as far as once you get out and retire, and like just I have people hitting me up all the time as far as jobs, pretty much anything. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think, it's one of ththose things that like we've taken from the Marines, once a Marine, always a Marine, once a Ranger, always a Ranger. And I think,
yeah,
Mike Hall and many of the other, nonprofit network leads have really, really tried to make sure that we're doing that, going forward after service, especially with like the Phalanx program and everything else this regiment's doing also. I
yeah,
think are helping with that big time.
yeah.
Well, let's start at the beginning. Why did you want to be an airborne ranger? What spurred that? And, a little bit of your origin story, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I grew up in North Dakota. A lot of people don't believe that. Not a
Wait,
lot of
wait, wait,
people.
wait, wait. Hold on. We didn't know this. We're in North Dakota.
Yeah, Valley City. So right on the interstate that goes through, about
Uh-huh.
60 miles west of Fargo.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. So you're pretty much in Minnesota. Well, the only reason the only reason I
All
said
right.
because I was born in Williston, North Dakota.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That
Okay.
I believe they call that like the armpit of the world.
Pretty much.
People not from Wilson.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
place
And
that
and
place
it's
blew.
proven that most people born there are retarded. So yeah,
Yeah, that place blew up. Well, hey, you're one of the North Dakotans that got out of North Dakota at least. So
that's fair.
not very many people do. So
Yeah, that's actually a very true statement. I've never met anybody. Well, we've never had anybody on the podcast that's been from North Dakota. So I'm sorry I derailed you there.
I barely meet anybody that's from North Dakota unless I go home. So, um, yeah, so I grew up in North Dakota. Not a lot going on. I think my graduating class was 100 people.
Yeah.
town of like 8,000. So it was really like just a slow, and it was not a bad like place to grow up, but I was always like, there's more than this, there's more than this. And so I was an athlete in high school. I got recruited by a bunch of colleges that I didn't want to go to for like full rides and stuff. I applied to a bunch of colleges that I wanted to go to, and they were like, yeah, but we're not giving you any money. So I was like, well, let's go into the Army and figure out what we want to do. I had an older brother who's in the Army. I can't remember when it was. I think when I was a junior in high school, he brought like this goodie bag of sweatshirts and stuff, which all Ranger, because he was stationed out here at JBLM. We worked at Madigan, and so and I remember there's one sweatshirt. It's like it looks like an RI sweatshirt, but it had the
Okay.
Second Ranger Battalion scroll, like big.
Oh,
one
I
on
had
it.
to scroll across it.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
and I had no recollection of this sweatshirt until when my dad passed away. One of my best friends from high school was like, I still got that sweatshirt. And I was like, what? And then he went home, took a picture of it, and sent it to me. This 275 sweatshirt that I got when I was in high school. And look, here we are, 275, you know? So,
That's amazing.
yeah, but that was wild. So I didn't know, honestly, just didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I love the country, but it wasn't like a patriotic thing or anything. It was like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Let's do something challenging. So the first time I talked to the Army recruiter, he came to the house. My brother was with me. So it kind of was like, my brother's knee seven, the recruiter's knee seven, so it kind of leveled the playing field, I think, for me. And then the Marines came to the house too, and I basically was like, "Well, I'm looking at going to the Army and being a Ranger." And they were like, "You're not going to. You think you're going to go straight from the streets to being a Ranger?" And I was like, "Okay, you guys can leave. Like that.
Yeah,
That's
that's enough.
so. Yeah, like you're going to tell me that. So that's where it was. I went to MEPS. They were like, "We don't have any um, contracts, Ranger contracts." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'm not signing." They're like, "No, no, wait." So I think I sat there like from 9 a.m. until about 5 p.m. and they finally magically appeared a Ranger contract. So we signed up. In the summer of my junior year, I signed up and did like delayed entry for that year. And then like 4 days after I graduated high school, I was on a plane to Benning.
That's
And the other story about that, the first plane I rode in was to Fort Benning. The
Oh,
second
really?
plane I the second plane I rode in was the one I was jumping out of at airborne school. So that was,
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's funny, you talk about, North Dakota, and what I often describe, like growing up is that the military was the quickest way to escape mediocrity,
yeah,
and it's not that they're bad people. They're amazing
no,
people, actually. It's just I knew I wanted more as well.
yeah. I like my brother said one time, like I loved growing up in North Dakota. It like was there nothing to do? Yeah, and you know what I did? I ran and I swam and I just did
So
active
I
stuff.
was going to ask what sports you did in high school.
So high school, I did in the fall, I did cross country and football.
Okay.
I did wrestling in the winter and then track in the spring. And
Yeah.
then I think my junior year or my sophomore year, I played both football and ran. And I think my cross country, I was like mid 30s in the state and top 20 or all state. And so as a junior, I just was like, I, our coach was straight running. He was like, pound the ball, and I was a wide receiver. And I was going to practice every day. I'm like, this just sucks.
Yeah.
And so, and the whole wide receiver room every day would be like, I'm quitting today. And like, finally, I was like, I'm quitting today. And everyone's like, yeah, get your shit on. I like put my pads on my helmet, and they were like, oh my god, he's actually going to do it. And my coach everyone's like, coach is going to fucking kill you. And I was like, hey, I want to go run. Like, I want to focus on that and be all state. And he was like, hey, I don't have a problem with that. Like, as long as you're doing something, you know.
Yeah.
So then I quit my junior year. I think I finished 18th.
Wow.
So worked it out. Yeah.
So you've always been a runner then.
Yeah. Running
Right.
background. So
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, so you joined in 97, so you're about a year ahead of me actually. So I graduated in 98, same, about 112 students graduated
yeah.
my graduating class. And I can only imagine your experience was like mine when you stepped off that plane in Atlanta. You're like, "Oh my God, this humidity." People talk about it, but you didn't believe it until you felt
Yeah. Yeah.
it. So, talk about your first assignment, and getting to 175 in 1997.
Yeah. So obviously, yeah, I retired. What, like we're looking at just over a month now.
Yeah.
So I told the story of my retirement, and I actually reached out to Ryan shortly before my retirement because you do a lot of reflecting on like the what's and the whys, you know. And
Yeah.
so my first squad leader was an absolute monster, right? And he's like 6'5" and just could ruck forever. And he like, I thought I was fast, but he just crushed me. Um, he went to CAG selection when I was at Ranger School. So I went to Ranger School about 8 months after I got there. So he was my squad leader for about 8 months. And then he disappeared and went and did his thing. Um, but like that, just that touch point, a little touch point we had with him, like set the tone for kind of everything for my career. There's a little side story to that too. Um, so I got to 175 in October '97, and we're getting ready to go on Christmas block leave Eve, right? I'm 19 years old. I get absolutely hammered and end up in a not great situation. And I ended up getting an Article 15. Like that whole thing, I think in today's regiment, I would have been like RFS
Would have been
paperwork
done.
immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, immediately. The situation that he went to bat for me, like significantly. The commander was good, and it just kind of like took care of itself. But on that like first 3 months, you know, I'm here, this 19-year-old idiot that like that would have changed the entire trajectory of probably my life because I don't think I would have stayed in the army if I went conventional and or
Yeah.
you know however things would have went. But yeah, so that was a significant thing. I reached out to him and told him that, and he was like, I wasn't even part of it for that long, you know. But sometimes those touch points are like things that'll propel you for the rest of your career.
Yeah, those individuals and those events, and them showing you how much they care. That really can be. I mean, I'm sure the guy, kicked your ass daily, but at the
Yeah,
same time, when it mattered, when the rubber hit the road, you knew that he was there for you.
yeah,
So
yeah. So
go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, so I would say, you know, everyone's always asking because I have been in all the battalions, like which one's the best, which one's the best. You know, for what it's worth, when I was in 175, like that was the best battalion.
Yeah.
Not because I was there, but as a 19 to 23-year-old
Yeah.
fire team leader, 175, like you could get in all sorts of trouble out there, the good trouble
Yeah.
and maybe the bad trouble, but you
Mostly
know
bad
that
trouble.
yeah
Let's be honest here.
yeah at our level, all those guys are getting in is the bad trouble.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, it was for that time frame in my life. It was awesome, and the friends I met, like at my retirement, I had a bunch of people out here from my 175 days that just made it kind of even that more special. You know, like these are guys that we've known for 20, 25 years that are still coming out, and so
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how long those friends last,
yeah,
Like they're
like
still
it's just yeah, it's
it's
just like, and when you see them, it's just like yesterday I saw you. You know,
yeah.
everything's kind of the same,
Were you
the
at
same but
the
different.
were you at the 50th this year for 275?
No, oh yeah, I was for
Oh, you were.
275. I was. I was trying
Okay.
to get to 175s earlier in the year. I didn't get out
Oh,
there for that,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
but yeah, I was here for 275s.
Yeah. That was unbelievable. I mean, I literally saw people I hadn't saw in
Yeah,
15, 18 years, and it was exactly like you said. I mean, that night we were literally sitting around and they had some of their kids over. We were
yeah,
definitely the old guys. We weren't the guys
yeah,
at the bar and everything. Like, and I had a huge VRBO, and their kids were just playing, and
yeah,
like sitting there, like, whoa, where'd the time go? That's wild.
yeah. There was so walking around the quad. I went 2 days because the first day walking around the quad, it was like horse, 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 and it's just
Oh,
like
yeah,
getting pulled every direction, and it's like so many people that like
yeah,
I never expected to see again, and it's just like the conversations and stuff. I had a friend with me the first day, and like she was like, "Where did you go?" Because I probably disappeared for like an hour and a half because I just getting drug in every direction, and so
right.
and she was ready to leave probably an hour and a half before that. So, but yeah, it was wild to see everybody, and yeah, just get back in that feeling, you know.
Yeah, pretty. Well, the joke became that when somebody would say, "Oh, hey, I got to go use the bathroom," we're like, "Okay, we'll catch up with you tonight,"
Yeah,
because they would, you'd just get pulled into other
yeah,
conversations and you'd see guys, and it was just wild.
yeah.
So, well, you served your time in 175. You got your Ranger tab. Were you a sergeant when you got out the first time?
Yep. At E5, I had been to the E6 board, but so I went green to gold. So I'd been to the
Oh,
E6
okay.
board, and that was on the table, but it hadn't been done. And they were like, "Well, we're going to hold this packet until you decide you want to stay here." So it was kind of like you'll be an E6 if you stay, and not if you don't. So I got out as an E5. Yeah, kind of did the whole gamut of the Ranger team leader, squad leader. I was a bike squad leader, so that was kind of cool. So we get
Yeah.
the back when we had the KLR 250s,
Yeah.
so we get those out and just run around. Cool when it was nice out, not so cool when it was rainy and cold. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so
The bikes and the razors and the quads, they all sound
yeah,
fun. Weather's nice.
yeah, yeah.
So what was your decision to get out? Why did you decide to get out?
So I was in that like 4 years, right? I did my 4 years, and I was still I don't know what I want to do. So I had the college fund, and I was like, "Here's what I'm going to do," because I was running that at that point, and I don't know how I running coach that was in 175, and we all would just go get pounded, and I was fast, and so I wanted to go to the University of Colorado to run because their cross country program is absolutely amazing. So
Okay.
I'd hit up their coaches, and they were like, "Hey, you can come out here and walk on. Your times are okay, but you're not going to get any money. Like we don't like do not. We're the guys that were on the team that year all end up being Olympic runners. So it's like those were the guys that were on scholarship, and like everybody else just fought to stay on the team. So I went out there. And I was like, yeah, it's cool because the Army's going to pay for it, right? Army's paying green to gold. I'm using my GI Bill and college fund. That's going to dump more money on me. So everything was good with that. I went out there, and I mean, I think I was probably at that point like 170 ish, 170. And the coach was like, yeah, you need to lose 14 pounds. And I was like, okay. So the diet they put me on, it was just like I couldn't do anything. And they control kind of every aspect of your life.
Right.
And so it's like I had already been in that where not, and the Army doesn't control every aspect, but like
I get what you mean.
I had that like structure, but I also had the me time, and that like the running for me was like my release. And there it was like, it was work. And it wasn't just like work, it was hard work, and it was every day. And it was just like, relentless. And so stayed with them for about a month and a half, and then I was like, yo, this isn't what I want my college to be. So like and I love those guys, and like the team went on. I think there were 3 out of the 4 years I was at college, they were national champions. So it would have been cool to be on that team, but like that would have been my life for 4 years. And I was like, that is not what I want my college experience to be. Because Boulder is a pretty cool town to go out and kick it in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did that. So the kind of the plan slated out, I was going to go to CU. I got an integrative physiology degree, and I'm going to go back in the Army and go to PA school. So I went back in the Army. I couldn't get to regiment somehow. Like we worked, and then I was like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this contract, which has me going to the 101st,
Right.
and I'm going to go in, and when I do all my check-in stuff, I'll call Branch and have them bop me over, right? So I think Sergeant Major Albertson was the
HQ. Yeah.
Ranger,
Yeah.
yeah, HRC Ranger seat. And
Yep.
so I call him, I'm like, oh, I am in processing at Fort Sill. I have orders to Fort Campbell. Is there any way you can pull me into regiment? He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, what's your social? And he hits my social, and he's like, where's your orders to? We were talking for, he's like, hey, man, got nothing for you. I can't even see your orders. Have fun on 101st, and hung up on me. And I was like,
Whoa.
what the? I'm like, what the? So, and obviously, as a E5 from 175, no one knows. I've been gone for 4 years. So,
Right.
but yeah, so I had a fun little 101st run for 2 years, one of which was my first deployment. But yeah, the plan was to go to school and then get that degree in like pre-med, basically exercise science, and then go to PA school because I had all my prereqs for PA school. So I was going to hit IPAP, which is, you get your PA, and then that's actually marketable when you get out. Being a Ranger at that point was not really marketable. We didn't have the
Right.
networks we have today, and like it just was not like, what are you going to do? You're going to be a
It's
cop,
very
or
different. Yeah.
yeah.
Top
So
firefighter or yeah.
yeah. So that was the plan, was to go do that and go to PA school. So went to 101st, got married that summer right after I got back into the Army, which was probably a poor choice, but not terrible, but it wasn't the right choice. Um, she was a Southern California girl and like knew I was in the military, but she didn't know what the military was going to be like.
Didn't know that.
And
Yeah.
we get to Fort Campbell. I married in July, and then in September I deployed for a year. So that was like interesting times. But so yeah, that deployment with the 101st, oof, it was hectic, and and the rules were not as fun. I remember like we were in one of our fobs and task force flew over, little birds and feet dangling out of the Blackhawks, and I was just like, I gotta get back to regiment. So,
Yeah.
but so I get out in 2001, obviously July, and Aaron Cannon was one of the squad leaders in First Platoon. We're all friends. And like literally, it was the day I signed out, and AC was like, "Hey, man, what's up?" I was like, "Yeah, I just signed out of the army." He was like, "No way," and I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "What? You're gonna miss the show, man?" And I was like, "The show? Like, no one's fucking with America for at least a decade. I'm not gonna miss anything." And he was like, "Okay." And obviously, I get out of the army, go home to North Dakota, start college, and I remember waking up September 11th, going downstairs, getting my shit together. I turned the TV on, and our TV was locked on ESPN, so it's on ESPN, and there's whatever smoking building and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, turn the TV off, go to class, and then in class was when I realized what was going on. Like because every class had the TVs on to the
Yeah.
World Trade Center, and so that was kind of like the thing.
All right. Hey, Josh, I'm going to stop you real quick. Hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in. If you want to hear the rest of the episode and the incredible journey of the 75th, we're going to pick right up at his 9/11, and kind of what was going through his head with Joshua. You definitely want to dial in and become an exclusive member on our Patreon page. I'll include the link in the show notes, and definitely recommend you get over there because not only are you going to be able to view this full episode, but 70 other episodes we've done with legends across the regiment as a whole.